Alien Isolation, den lange udgave, fordi mere er bedre. Ja, vi er taget et smut til England for at kigge på Alien Isolation. Det her er den lange udgave af indslaget, så I er højst sandsynligt mere interesseret i at høre dem snakke end mig, så skal vi ikke bare springe lige til det.
I'm Gary Napper, I'm the lead designer on Alien Isolation.
And I'm Al Hope, I'm creative lead.
First off, the obvious question that springs to mind here is, of course, what is Alien Isolation? I mean, to make it a bit more on point, what separates Alien Isolation from all the other Alien games we've seen so far?
Well, when we first started making this game, it was a challenge for us because we wanted to make the alien feel scary again. We wanted just one alien on its own to be a huge problem. You know, that feeling of just being hunted and not being able to deal with the alien was a massive, massive part of it earlier on, yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that, you know, we were big fans of that first film and it felt like no one had really created that experience in video game form. I think games in the past had really focused on the James Cameron experience of pulse rifles and Marines and lots of aliens, and that's cool, you know, we're fans of that. But it felt like there was an incredible opportunity to take you back 35 years to the original you know, the original movie, back to that kind of Ridley Scott haunted house in space, and make the player feel like they were, you know, one of the crew of the Nostromo, actually feel like they were being hunted, and just a game where one alien could be really significant and really terrifying and kind of meaningful to the player.
Yeah. For me, it was all about that, making that alien feel like it could get you at any point, and it was smart, and it was this lethal hunter, and you know, the portrayal of what it felt like in the first film. So when you pick up the controller and you're in that situation, you're not just reaching for your gun and waiting for something to wander in front of your crosshairs. You're actually worrying that any shadow could be the alien, and you're just like, I'm just going to stay in this cupboard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Is to take a completely new approach where the game was about survival. You know, I think that's what you get out of the original movie, is that crew is trying to survive. They're not trying to necessarily kill this thing. They're just trying to moment survive. And what would a game be like if it followed the same path?
Were you worried at any point? I mean, picking up a thing like Alien, but also touching what, by the end of it, actually looked like a fairly toxic franchise. Especially if we look at, you know, Colonial Marine and things like that. There's a lot of people who would be scared of even going anywhere near that IP. I mean, what were your thoughts on tackling this despite the last few attempts to do anything with this?
I think for us, actually, I mean, we've been in development for over 3 years. We've been alongside other Alien games that have, you know, come out in that time. And for us, it was more us being focused on what we wanted to do, and being maybe our only big concern was other people might do what we were doing. So, you know, when we saw, you know, Alien Colonial Marines come out and it wasn't a survival horror, you know, we were like, oh, that's excellent, you know, like our first relief was just like, brilliant, that's really great. And the other side of it was a lot of people after that game were wanting something more scary and something more survival based. So we were reading a lot of forums and seeing a lot of comments describing the game we were making, and that was massively exciting.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that we, you know, from day one, we knew the kind of experience we wanted to create to give the player, and it felt like an experience that wasn't available in previous Alien titles. And so I think from that point on, we were just really super focused on that, and kind of really blinkered and really didn't, you know, creatively didn't change at all, and just kept focusing on the experience that we wanted to deliver. And you know, it was the game that we wanted to play. You know, a completely different type of Alien experience.
Yeah, always helps. I mean, we've covered this slightly, but what were the actual thoughts? What was the thought process, the philosophy, if you will, when you set to doing this? I mean, one thing is stating survival horror, but as we've seen with a lot of other games, that does not necessarily mean that you end up with survival horror. What thoughts and what did you go through to actually ensure that you ended up with a product that you felt satisfied with?
Well, we knew that we wanted the game to be very, very difficult. We knew, you know, we wanted the whole survival feel, and that it wouldn't be, you know, easy to get through in a way. And when we first set about designing this alien, we knew the alien had to be tough, you know, it'd be very, very difficult. Maybe you couldn't kill it, things like that. And we found that the more we played that, the more we'd die, you know, all the time. And each time you came back and you'd see the same event again, you almost had more information than the creature, because you knew what it was going to do. So very early on, we were like, well, we knew that we wanted it to be different every time. We knew we wanted to be unpredictable. So you never knew where he was going to be. And that first point where he kills you, and then you come back in and you pick up from the last checkpoint, and you go to the corner he came around before and he's not there. As a player, you know, the whole kind of scale of the world becomes apparent to you, and you're like, I'm in real trouble here. So there was a big, you know, drive to make it non-predictable and systematic. So that led us to this sense-driven creature that would hunt for sounds and light and things like movement and light and dark. And it wasn't just hunting for the player; it would be hunting for anything in the world. And that put you in the same situation as the people on the station, and that was where the kind of building blocks for the game came from.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think also we really wanted to re-establish the alien as this ultimate killer again. I think over the course of the franchise, maybe the role of the alien has changed, and we just really loved what it represented in that first film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just wanted to sort of again give the player a chance to confront that. What would it be like to confront that original alien? It'd be like nothing else. And so making it really unpredictable, always making you feel underpowered and unprepared to face what it was going to confront you with. And so I think right from the start it was just to really offer a completely different experience.
Yeah, a lot of that also comes from the environment as well, because people said I can't remember if you or someone else was saying the crew of the Nostromo were like the original MacGyver, just finding whatever they could and sticking it together to survive. So that came, massively into the core gameplay. We weren't going to give you like an M56 smart gun that could just gun down anything in front of you. It was about building tiny little things to survive.
Well, I actually I read somewhere that early on you kind of scrapped the idea of improvised weapons, but kept improvised explosive devices and things like that. I mean, what made you choose to take situational one-off things instead of crafting, say, I realise the flame is there, but crafting a more reliable thing?
It's one of those questions you ask yourself, like Alice is straight away. What would it be like? What would you do in that situation? So if you and I are stuck there, what could you build? Could you fashion a machine gun that fired flaming bullets? Probably not, but you could make a Molotov, or you could stick something together that's going to make a loud noise, and that was the question we were asking. Imagine we were stuck in that place with the alien. What would you do? I'd just hide. I'd build something to make a noise and throw it. That's the kind of situation you'd be in, and it just makes it feel more grounded and real than if you're, firing lightning cannons at people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think Alien's a really believable film, and we wanted to make a game that felt really believable, that it was really instinctive. And I think the sort of more real world we make it, the more instinctive, and those kind of thoughts you have about how you might survive actually can be played out. So I think that's why we kind of don't give you any tools or weapons to kill the alien. It's much more about wanting to have these real world scenarios where you might want to try and distract the creature, and so you would throw a flare or try and make a noise, and so I think that's what we were trying to do, is kind of tap into the player's instincts, sort of survival instincts.
Yeah.
How much freedom did you have in creating this? How much access to source material, things like that? But also, in terms of the IP, I realised that you're working with Amanda Ripley instead of Ellen. And obviously you have like a time span between the first and second movie in which you get to just kind of do your thing. But what kind of freedom did you actually have?
Well, it's one of those things where, as a team, we're all huge fans of Alien. It sounds like corny to say, but actually, it's almost, everyone is so pure and into what Alien is that when we put things on screen that don't necessarily fit the vision, straight away they're out, and we're really massively self-critical over that stuff. So when we came to writing, the story and the fiction and the universe, we kind of kept it very true to what the material was. We wanted to treat the material with respect. So when we looked at what would happen in the timeline, we knew we didn't want it as far down as Aliens. We knew we wanted to keep it near the beginning of the film. We found this character Amanda Ripley, whose story had never really been told, but actually she'd been mentioned by one of the most untrustworthy characters in Alien history, Burke, sitting there going, oh yeah. So first off, you got this mention of her. You don't know if he's telling the truth even. So it gave us this place to find his character and tell this story. And I think, when we took it to like Sega and 20th Century Fox and said, here's the rough outline of what we'd like to do, they were hugely, massively on board with it. And I think a lot of that is because we've put Amanda Ripley in such a similar situation to her mother that it just naturally fit really well, I think.
Yeah, and I think we were really in a fortunate position. We were never going to make the game of the movie. That wasn't really what we were interested in doing. But there's so many things we love about that first film. So many values and the lo-fi sci-fi aesthetic. This sort of 70s view of the future that we really wanted to take advantage of. So as Gary says, we really wanted to pitch the game as close as possible to that first film. but tell a new story. And so I think, you know, that's why the game takes place 15 years after the Nostromo goes missing. So we could take advantage of all of that. You know, our station looks very much like the Nostromo, as if the company that made the Nostromo built this station. You know, they're very, very similar. And so, you know, I think we got to capitalise on all the stuff that we love, but tell our own story in a new space with new events. And so, you know, it's a kind of like the ultimate playground for us.
Well, speaking of the Nostromo and taking advantage of, in your DLC, you actually managed to get the original cast together to perform 2 levels that kind of play off the movies. How did that come about?
Well,
how did you even manage? I mean,
when you're building a game like this, you know you go so into the fiction and you kind of submerge yourself in the universe and know every bit of detail you can, and you find yourself asking questions and you build stuff, and someone might build a test level and someone might build mechanics. They go, what about this and what about that? And you know, we had this question all of a sudden. We were like, wow, you know, what if we could, you know, we've got all these components from the Nostromo. What if we reconstructed the Nostromo, you know, like for like? And it'd be great if we could, like, you know, put the alien in there, and you know, what if we put, you know, Ellen Ripley in there as well? How would that work? And I think it was one of the exciting things where it kind of went from like gate to gate of people going, you know, do you think we can do it? Do you think that's possible? And then all of a sudden someone says yes, and then next minute you're sitting in a room with Sigourney.
I think that's the thing. You know, like you start a project like this, and you have all these kind of ideas and light bulb moments where you're kind of imagining and dreaming what you could possibly do. And I think it's actually due in large part to the great work that the team have done to kind of construct this world that's so in keeping with the atmosphere of that first film that it did make it much easier when we approached the original cast. I think they could immediately see the kind of care and attention and the level of detail that we were putting into recreating the world that they created back in, you know, the 70s. And I think, you know, when we were to talk to them about it, about their approach, about it was about survival. You know, it wasn't about killing. That I think that, you know, they were really excited to be part of it. And I think for us to have Sigourney Weaver reprise her role as Ellen Ripley for the first time in video games was you know, it is a dream come true.
Yeah.
And
that's still surreal though, playing the game and hearing her voice in it.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And I think, you know, and for her, the fact that Amanda, her fictional daughter, is our main character also actually meant quite a lot to her as well. So I think that was sort of an added bonus for us. But yeah, I mean, as soon as those characters started, I mean, those actors started voicing those characters, you know, I think everyone in the room was kind of transported back to the Nostromo, and it was, you know, spine-tingling stuff.
One last question, just to end us off on an offbeat, so to speak. Having spent so much time with the alien now, having spent so much time like in its head, which you must have done. Actually, that's an interesting question I almost want to ask you instead. What's it like thinking like the alien? What's it like designing this creature? That's actually more interesting than who could beat it in a fight. What's it like being the alien?
What's it like being the alien? I think when you've worked with the alien for so long and you know what it's capable of, you get almost you get like a respect and a kind of affinity for the creature, knowing what you want it to be capable of. When we first started building it and putting it in levels, we made it very, very tough. And we discovered very, very quickly that this perfect creature that could hunt and kill you every time wasn't fun, because it hunted and killed you every time. So we worked in kind of, you know, a little more believable sense of like, you know, well, how far can it hear? What, you know, does it have this sixth sense? You know, would it be aware of where you are? You know, would it remember where it saw you last? And, you know, how would it react to the things you use? And there's all those sort of questions that kind of allowed us to get into the head of the alien and figure out what it would do under certain situations. But I think the testament to it, you know, you work on the game for many years, you know, you kind of get used to it, and you kind of, you know, you get a bit blasé with it all. But still to this day, when we play it, when we go into an area, we're not sure what it's going to do, and most of the time we get killed because we're being like overconfident or too cocky. And you know, I was giving a demo to someone. I had the motion track, and I was going into detail about how you have to be really careful and always use the motion track. I swept around, a door opened, and he was just there. Because he wasn't moving, he hadn't appeared on the track, and he just jumped, and he made me jump so much. I just went bright red. I was really embarrassed. Like, it still gets you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You know, we work on the game. We've worked on this game for almost 4 years now, and you know, we play the game all day, every day, and yeah, we jump and yelp when we get caught. You know, it is unpredictable. We can't. You know, in most games by now, we'd be able to kind of ninja our way through it and never get killed, and yet, you know, we could go and play it now, and our hearts would be thumping as we have to play it just like anyone else plays it. We have to concentrate, treat the alien with respect, moment to moment, decide on how we're going to survive. It's been quite an interesting creative challenge, creating this thing and yet still being at its mercy.
Yeah, I've had lots of I've had lots of dreams about working on the game and in the situations, but I've never had a nightmare about the game until recently. And I had a dream where I was in one of the settings in the game and the alien was there, and I did a couple of things wrong and it came and grabbed me and it grabbed my ribs and lifted me up, and I woke up as it chomped into my head, and I swear I woke up feeling teeth marks in my neck. It was terrifying, but that's the first time I've had a nightmare about the alien in all the time we worked on it. So I think we did something right.
I think we should stop. I think that means that we should stop now.
I think we're done. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Og der har I det hele indslaget om Alien Isolation fra de to udviklere. Skriv gerne, hvad I synes om spillet hernede under. Husk at like og del, og så ses vi senere. Hej.